Hey guys, it's TMF Style, I'm Jose Zuniga, and for this week's video, we're going to be discussing shoulder types and how they affect the wearer. With suits, there's a lot of little moving parts and details that goes into tailoring, and most untrained eyes don't know the difference between mass production and fine craftsmanship. However, for us menswear enthusiasts, we're not like that. We usually like to know how every detail works, how it came to be, and most importantly, how it affects the wearer. Which brings me to this video where we're going to be discussing 4 shoulder types that you can purchase in your next suit. So first, to start with the most common one and the one that most of you probably have seen, which this is the structured shoulder. The structured shoulder pretty much comes in almost all the off-the-rack suits, and it's the most popular because it suits the most men. What a structured shoulder does is exactly what it says it does. It basically structures the line of the wearer. So if you have a slopey shoulder, a structured shoulder will straighten that out and make you look a little bit more squared off at top, which a lot of men like that. This is also by far the most elegant and classy shoulder type of the 4 that I will be speaking of today. When in doubt, always go for the structured. It always helps you. The structured shoulder sports heavy padding, which is what structures the shoulder line. The next one we're going to be speaking about is basically the counterpart of this, and it's the unstructured shoulder. The unstructured shoulder is basically sewn the same way a structured shoulder is. The only difference is that it sports little to no shoulder padding. What this does is it provides a natural line for the wearer, which is why for the synonyms for an unstructured shoulder is a soft shoulder or a natural shoulder. All those 3 names, which I'm sure you've probably heard of, basically refer to the same style. Given the lower padding or no padding at all, it follows the natural line of the wearer. So the shoulder line seamlessly transitions into the sleeve, which is also why it's always used on more casual settings. This shoulder usually looks best on casual blazers, and for me personally, I like to use them in the summer, usually with unstructured linens or cottons. This gives you a more cooler and laid back look, and a lot of people don't like this because it doesn't structure or actually shape you, and instead, like I mentioned, follows the natural line of the shoulder you have. The next shoulder is an Italian tradition, and that's the pleated shoulder, or the Spalla Camicia. And what this basically means is that, in fact, the shoulder will have small pleats on the side. How this happens is that the tailor makes the hole on the jacket smaller than the hole on the sleeve. So to compensate for this size differentiation, when the tailor sews the sleeve on, he sews it with pleats. Now this by far is an Italian tradition and something you really can't get off the rack. Now Italians do argue that this is not only a fashion piece, but also functional. They say that given the pleats, this provides a greater circumference in the bicep and sleeve area, which in return gives the wearer a greater range of motion when moving. Now, I can't guarantee this to you guys for a fact. However, I am working on a couple samples for Estaniga that do have a pleated shoulder, and when they do come in, I will be giving you guys a quick review and to see if in fact it is more functional than the more traditional shoulder types. Now finally, the last shoulder we were going to be speaking about is the roped or con Rollino shoulder. Again, this is ingrained in Italian tailoring, and basically what it means is that the shoulder line will have a rollino or a roll on the jacket. How this works is that the tailor cuts the shoulder line a little bit before the line of the natural wearer. Then, to compensate for this length difference, he cuts the sleeve a little bit longer. So when he comes up with the sleeve onto the shoulder line, a rollino or a roll is created. Now this by far is the most bold shoulder type. It kind of says, I'm a boss and I know what I'm doing with menswear. It's very much a statement piece. It also sports heavy padding, so it will structure the wearer. Me personally, I find it a little bit disruptive at times, since I think it's a little bit too loud and it brings too much attention to the shoulder line, and I don't like how it raises it up. That's to the discretion of the wearer, because if worn properly, it looks good on some men. Again, it all really comes down to opinion. So that's basically it for the 4 shoulder types that men have at option when purchasing a custom or a bespoke piece. If you guys like this video, remember to hit up the like up button. If you found it informative and helpful, remember to share this video so we can reach and teach more men. Thank you guys for watching.